RPGs make you feel godly by battling big bosses. In Divinity Original Sin, it's about discovering how you affect the world. I first realized the power at my disposal when I used my mage's rain spell to douse the flames afflicting a boat in the starting town of Sicil. Piff! Down went the flames and up went the cheering arms of the rescued sailors. That kind of interaction works just as it should, and so seldom does in games. That's what inspires the rewarding experimentation that lies at the heart of Divinity Original Sin. Discovering how its many complex pieces interact with each other and how they can be used to your advantage is what keeps it going for the majority of its outstanding 60-ish hours of questing. I did have a hard time getting started. There's a tutorial covering the basics, but the rest of Divinity Original Sin is characterized by some of the most brazen lack of handholding this side of Dark Souls. It's hard enough figuring out the seemingly endless uses of the complex and amazing spell system during the first 10 hours of play, but setting aside the issues with the inventory and the occasional vague quest objective, that's also why I enjoyed it. Developer Larian Studios skillfully stokes the flames of fantasy role-playing game nostalgia. It's all here, from the top-down perspective to thoughtful turn-based combat and clunky menus that seemingly require more skill than it takes to wield a sword. Fortunately, it's more than just loving callbacks to Baldur's Gate. Take the overarching story of two source hunters tracking down the dastardly fiends who dabble in sorcery. Much as in big-budget role-playing peers such as Skyrim or Mass Effect, the quest to save the world is competently written and feels important, but it never demands your attention so completely that there's no time for tons of great side quests. Much of the appeal of Original Sin's scattered quests stems from little tidbits of conflict with NPCs. These are almost always resolved with a digital game of rock, paper, scissors, which is a great way to allow two main characters to bicker over the merits of their actions. Sometimes these little spats give stat boosts or disposition gains, but they're most effective in the online cooperative mode as a way to inject some roleplay into the experience. The quests themselves are well-written adventures dealing with conflicts like ancient blood feuds and racial tensions. They're full of great moral choices, and most of them have two or more possible outcomes that really made me feel like I had control over the fate of the characters. The interface around the quests could be better though. Sometimes the key to one quest lies in another, and the scant quest journal rarely alludes to such overlaps. At times, the awkward inventory that demands constant juggling between 4 team members adds to the confoundment. I spent embarrassing swaths of time in Original Sin just trying to figure out what to do next. But when, say, you discover that you can pilfer a house of its valuables by using one of your party members to distract the owner in conversation while another steals, it's fantastic. Combat is where Divinity Original Sin comes into its own. Its heavy reliance on various spell and elemental combinations for devastating effects, crowd control, and environmental advantages demands some brain work. For instance, you might have to douse the flames around a fire elemental to dampen its flame attacks, and then you can use the resulting water to fire off shock spells that stun enemies in place. And get this, all the enemies can do the same things to you. It's a thoughtful, tactical dynamic that manages to keep every encounter fresh and memorable even after many hours. Divinity Original Sin is one of the most rewarding RPGs to come along in years. Its quests and combat compelled me to think hard about my actions and choices, which is more than I usually get to say about contemporary RPGs. Its depth, personality, and combat challenges easily allow it to hold its own against the likes of heavyweights like Dragon Age Origins. These systems invite constant experimentation throughout dozens of memorable hours of combat and cheeky storytelling, and its rich modding toolkit provides a framework for enjoyable player-made adventure for years to come. For more on Divinity Original Sin, hit up IGN.